Yo, what's up everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name's Sebastian and today we're talking about some advanced color grading. This is the look that we're creating today. So we are in DaVinci Resolve right now and let's just import our clip, which is this one. Just drag it on the timeline, and after you've done that we can delete the audio because we don't need that and go straight into our color tab. So from there, this is our first node. Let's create a serial node and call this this is our look, and in the first node we do our exposure. So from our look node, let's put them up a bit, create a layer node and a layer mixer by hitting Alt and L on your keyboard. So now call this green because this, where's my clip? There. So call this green because I want to focus on the greens in there and put out the blues so that the mountain is really popping out. So from the layer node or the layer mixer, hit Alt and S, create a serial node and call this outside or out, whatever you want. Then right click, go to add node, add outside, and this, just you can leave this. From there you can create another serial node and create and call this look adjustment. From there another serial, this will be down here, call this global adjustment, and another serial, and this one is just extra. You don't have to do this, but you know, it's good to have. So let's just start with our exposure. Alright, so this is our parade. Let's just let me pull this up. Good. So let's just crank our contrast up a bit to around 1. This is blown out, but that doesn't matter right now. And then we crank out our pivot because you see, just look at the highlights. If you crank this up, you can bring back so much highlights like this. That's good. So then just focus on our gain, bring this down a little and kill it by bringing up the gamma. So the next step is to go to our offset and pull this down a little, so this adjusts our black points right there. There we have a lot. Just pull this up slightly more. Yeah, this is looking good. So now go to your saturation and just crank this up. Right, this is looking pretty bad right now, but doesn't matter. Now go to next node, go to look, go to the layer mixer, right click, go to composite mode, and then go to soft light. So now go back to look, and what we could do now is just kill our saturation. So from there we just have a little bit of green and a little bit of blue left. So now this is fine because now we're going to our greens. Go to hue versus saturation, pick the greens and crank this up all the way. But it brings up some other unwanted colors like the blue, and all we want to do now is just drag our blues down completely, cyan as well, not that much, like this, and drag everything else down. So we have slightly more blue, but we focus on the greens. You can, if this is too much for you, you can just rearrange this. But let's just crank it all the way up so that it looks the best. So the next thing is we just lost completely details in our shadows. So let's go back to our exposure. Take down some contrast. Go to our gamma. Raise this a little more. And then go to our gain. Drag this down just a bit. This is too much. And raise it up again. So that's looking pretty good right now. Yeah. So to show you the before and after, this was before, this is where we are right now. Not too much of a difference, but we take out the complete blue. So now we want to go to our outside node, and what we want to do here is create a custom shape to just isolate the mountain. So go here. This doesn't have to be perfect. It's just for the sake of this tutorial. Create a shape around the mountain and then just connect it so your mountain is like completely covered. And then what we want to do next is we're gonna drag it. Right, let's just stop here and drag this down so that's completely covered. So now from there we can just go back and invert it because we're working on the outside or the sky. So that's our focus right now. Let's just make this a little bit better. This is looking good. So now let's fit this, and now you can see from your node where you called it outside is everything except the mountain, and in the outside node that we created is everything except the sky. So we're just working on the mountain. So what we want to do is we're on the outside node, just go to our curves, the RGB curves, custom curves. Let me show, this is unchanged, that's fine. And now let's just click somewhere in the middle and just bring this down. Alright, so I forgot something. Let's go back to our outside, go back to here. And this is just hard edges right now. So let's just soften this out to something 17 is pretty good, and then you can mess around with the inside just a bit, something like 10, and outside 3 or 4, which is looking pretty good. So now just go back to the curves and now just drag this down, because if you don't soften it up and play around with the inside and outside, you will just get hard cuts on the sky, and that's not what we're going for. So now let's just click in the middle of our RGB curves and just drag this down. So now we're getting back some information in the sky, not too much because we don't want to make it too dark, something like this. And then go back to your contrast and put it up a little, and then just drag your pivot and bring this even more up, like to 100%. So that's fine. We get some information back in the sky, like this was clipped already. There's no chance to bring this back because this was blown out already. So now let's just go to the mountain. So now let's focus on our mountain and just go to your gain and gamma as a lift and just lift this up just a bit and then go to gain and just lift this up ever so slightly, because you can always go too much and then just bring it back. This was way too much. This should look good. And now what we can do next is zoom in a bit and there we can crank up our mid and detail to around 50 to get some nice details. This is looking pretty good right here, or go 80. This depends on your clip. And just go to fit and let's just this is the before and this is the after. We can make our shadows a little bit darker. Like that. So now it's looking pretty good. So now to give this an even cooler look, let's go to look adjustment and let's make a custom curve in the RGB curves. Let's just drag this up, you know, just a slight bit, and then just grab it somewhere around here and just drag this down just a little. You know, you can play around with the curves so that you find the point where you like it, and then just pull this down just a little and brighten it up. Just like that. So now when I deactivate this, this is the before, this is the after. You know, it just brought up some shadows. That's pretty good. So in our global adjustment, let's go ahead and check editable splines and then just bring this up a little bit. And then we bring this down ever so slightly. This is looking pretty good right now. And what we want to do next is brighten this up just a little. So let's go to your gamma and just bring this up a little bit. Go to a lift and bring this back down. So we got still details in the shadows. That's looking pretty good. And in the extra, what you can do now is go to your primaries, or no, go to your log wheels, and in the highlights. So you get a lot of green in this picture, so you can add the opposite of green, which is some purple in the highlights. Also, let me crank it up so it shows you what this does. Is it just adds some purple to the brightest points of your image. But I wanted to have it just in the sky and a little bit on the rocks on top of here. So let's just bring this down. But this is pretty good. And now you see it's still on the rocks. What we want to do now is bring up our high range. And by doing this, you see, just drag it down and it all gets red. And when you bring up your high range, it takes this out from the highlights and just leaves it in the highest highlights. So this is what the high range does. You can crank this up just a bit more and add a bit more. Let's take our go to global adjustment and go to primaries, go to wheels, and then just bring the gain slight bit down like this. Now go back to extra, go to log wheels, and there you can play around. Like this. So in full screen it looks like this. You get still some red, purple kind of things in the rocks, but the sky on top of here you get some nice purple. So that's still no professional color grading. These are just some advanced techniques that I use on a regular basis when color grading my drone footage or whatever. So if this was any helpful to you, please consider leaving a like and a subscribe, because this would help the channel a lot. And yeah, that's it for me now. See you in the next one. Have a great day. Bye.